All right, I think I'll open the floor now while I'm just checking on the background about the speakers because it's already 5 past and the Honorable colleague has already joined us. So I will open the floor now. But Dr. Swanepoel, you only start when I remove the banner.
Good morning. It's a good morning from the Republic of Uganda. Good morning, Nigeria. Good afternoon, Indonesia. Good evening, Australia. We have over 50 countries participating with over 200 participants. And good morning to all of you. Good afternoon, depending on which jurisdiction you're from. Welcome to this webinar. My name is Anne Tuinomchamheire. I am a Deputy Inspector General of Government in the Republic of Uganda. The Inspector of Government is the national ombudsman that is constitutionally mandated to eliminate and foster the elimination of corruption and abuse of authority and foster the abuse of authority, I beg your pardon, and public office. It's also mandated to foster strict adherence to the rule of law and principles of natural justice in public administration and enforcement of the Leadership Code of Conduct. The African Ombudsman and Mediators Association, together with the African Ombudsman Research Center, have tirelessly endeavored through trainings and webinars to increase the visibility of the ombudsman function in Africa. I am grateful to the opportunity to facilitate today's webinar, which is on mastering customer care service skills to consistently delivering outstanding service and managing expectation. Ladies and gentlemen, it is said that great customer care is the holy grail of any business. For any organization, firm, or institution, clients are the core business. Although providing flawless and quality service is possible, it is not always easy. When the art of customer care is mastered, success is guaranteed. For an ombudsman, our client is that individual from within the society that has suffered an injustice or is dissatisfied with the services offered by the government or the state. We are required to listen and understand issues while remaining neutral. We're expected to offer timely solutions or refer the individual to appropriate resolution resources and facilitate informal resolution processes. Without the right customer care skills, this will not be possible. We shall be hearing from distinguished speakers this morning and seasoned ombudsmen who will be sharing from their wealth of knowledge and experiences on the following topics. The first topic will be understanding the alignment of customer service with organizational skills. Then we'll have the second topic on core principles of excellent customer care that is illustrated through practical examples. Effective techniques for complaint resolution, and lastly, we'll have strategies for turning challenges into positive customer care interactions. By the end of this webinar, ladies and gentlemen, we should have gained insights into the measures we can adopt to enhance our customer care skills to deliver on our organization's mandate. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the singular honor to introduce to you our first speaker, the Honorable Advocate Stephen Ubasi from...
Excuse me, Honorable Anne, I think we should start by the welcoming from the UKZN and from the Public Protector before we move on to the speakers.
My sincere apologies on that. Thank you for the reminder. We'll now have the opening remarks, welcome remarks. Over to you.
Dr. Swanepoel.
Okay, good morning, distinguished guests and participants. I just have a short message on behalf of the Acting Deputy Vice Chancellor of the College of Law and Management Studies, Professor Managay Reddy, and also the Acting Dean of the School of Law, Professor Michael Kidd. And I would just like to invite everybody to today's webinar on behalf of the University of KwaZulu-Natal. I just want to add that we are delighted to share that we have received in excess of 400 registrations for today's webinar from over 55 diverse countries. And I think this is quite an achievement. And we are looking forward to a highly successful and collaborative experience today. So I'm now going to well, I have the pleasure of handing over now to the Public Protector of South Africa, who is also the chairperson of the AORC board. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you very much. Very good morning, Program Director, my dear sister, Ms. N. Tshwane Mogoshi, the Deputy Ombudsman, the Inspectorate General of Government of Uganda. It is really a pleasure that you have taken your time to really assist us and take us through this program. To our guest speakers, Advocate Stephen Basi, Diroyahoshi, Ombudsman of Botswana, Honorable Abimbola Ayo Yusuf, Ombudsman of Nigeria, and my dear sister and predecessor, Professor Thuli Madonsela, the Chair of Social Justice Research at the University of Stellenbosch in South Africa, the Deputy Vice Chancellor and acting head of the College of Law Management Studies at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, our partners as AORC represented here by Dr. Paul. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I see that we have a lot of guests in our webinar today. What a beautiful way to open up the year. And of course, the topic allows it, and also those who've honored us by contributing to that. I cannot underestimate the expertise that you carry. I'm really delighted that all of you could join this webinar training session on mastering customer service skills in order to consistently deliver an outstanding service to the various stakeholders we serve as ombuds institutions. On behalf of AORC and the Board of Directors, whom I have the privilege to chair, we welcome you today to the session. An ombudsman serves as a vital link between citizens and local authorities by offering a neutral and independent mechanism for citizens to voice their concerns, seek redress, and hold local authorities accountable for their actions. This bridge building role is essential for a well-functioning democracy and good governance within our respective states. One of the biggest challenges for an ombudsman office is to balance issues of accountability, service delivery, and the expectations of complainants on the one hand, and on the other, to be seen as an independent, impartial, both by the complainants and the institutions which we investigate. While it is crucial that communications with all parties should reflect this independence and impartiality, effective communication is also important to properly manage the relationship between the ombudsman and the public institution within its jurisdictions. Complainants' impression of the ombudsman office is how well it performs depends on what expectations are set early and how well they are being met. Complainants should think the ombudsman has given them the best service possible. Effective service delivery does not, however, require the office to make them happy with the results, especially if the only way they will be happy is if the ombudsman finds what they want, even if the facts don't support such a finding. Ombudsman staff should treat complainants as they would like to be treated. I quote, "A little bit of kindness, thoughtfulness, and respect goes a long way, especially with difficult complainants," end quote. From an ombudsman's perspective, mastering customer service skills and delivering outstanding service while effectively managing expectations is crucial for several reasons. Enhancing trust and accountability is one of those. Ombudsmen act as impartial mediators between individuals and organizations. By delivering exceptional customer service, ombudsmen can build trust with both parties involved in a dispute. When individuals trust the ombudsman's ability to provide fair and unbiased assistance, they are more likely to engage in the resolution process with confidence. Facilitating effective communication. Effective communication is at the core of resolving conflicts. Generally, complainants are more likely to complain about a lack of communication rather than their dissatisfaction with a decision or specific cause of action. Mastering customer service skills allows ombudsmen to communicate clearly, empathetically, and respectfully with all parties. By understanding and addressing the needs and concerns of both sides, ombudsmen can facilitate productive dialogue and negotiation, leading to mutually satisfactory outcomes. Managing expectations, this is a very critical one. Mismanaged expectation can often exacerbate conflicts and hinder resolution efforts. The two most important goals in communicating with complainants are creating realistic expectations and providing clear, concise communications. Promoting fairness and impartiality, ombudsmen must maintain neutrality and impartiality throughout the dispute resolution process. Delivering outstanding service involves treating all parties equally or equitably, regardless of their status or background. Preventing escalation. Any unreasonable delay in the investigation and communication may redirect the frustrations of the complainant towards the Ombudsman Office and undermine the efforts of the investigator. Improving organizational effectiveness. Ombudsmen play a vital role in identifying systemic issues within organizations and recommending improvements to prevent future conflicts. Without ado, let's go right in where customer service skills are paramount for the successful functioning of Ombud institution and help in building trust and credibility with complainants, ensuring they feel heard, valued, and confident in the institution's ability to address issues fairly and objectively throughout the complaint resolution or investigative process. Mastering customer service skills requires a commitment to continuous improvement, and this can be done through inter alia webinars such as these, as well as gathering feedback from complainants to address identified gaps. But also we have got the opportunity of the fourth industrial revolution to ensure that we deploy technology to enhance the customer experience of the people we serve. The digitalization of customer services is increasingly critical in today's technological-driven environment. The program has an engaging lineup to this topic, which is held by the experts whom I've outlined before. Without a doubt, I believe that their expertise, their experience, these are giants within our continent upon whose shoulders we stand, and the experience that we continue to utilize as ombudsmen. In conclusion, mastering customer service skills is integral to the success of ombud institutions. By embodying strong customer service principles, ombuds can play a crucial role in promoting social justice and fairness and hold public officials entrusted with public resources accountable. I thank you very much for clearing your busy schedules and taking the time to participate and honoring this webinar invite with your attendance. I see that we actually have attendees from all over the globe. AORC webinars are indeed growing. Professor Madonsela, this is part of you, the legacy that you left at the Public Protector of South Africa. I hope being here today, first and foremost, actually stems the kind of public protector you were, the legacy that you've created for all of us. And we are glad to say that it is growing. And thanks to the video conferencing technology, we are able to meet throughout the length and breadth of our continent through different time zones. I believe this webinar will be worth your while, and through it, you will learn valuable lessons on customer services and hopefully customize that which you learn to suit and consequently improve the customer service experience in your respective environments. Kindly allow me to please be excused. I am attending the Legislative Oversight Summit organized by our Parliament in the Republic of South Africa, wherein I am also a participant. However, I would have really loved to listen in. I will, however, listen to the recordings as they are always posted on the AORC webinars, websites rather. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful session.
Thank you very much for your kind remarks. We already feel at home in South Africa. My sister, the Public Protector of South Africa. That was the Public Protector from South Africa that was giving her opening remarks. I saw one of the participants asking, who is the speaker? She was just giving her opening remarks, making us all feel comfortable in our rooms, in our offices, as we prepare to listen from distinguished speakers. I have now the honor to introduce to us our first speaker, a distinguished advocate, Honorable Advocate Stephen Bassi. Advocate Stephen Bassi is an esteemed legal professional with a law degree from the University of Botswana and a master's in law in international law from the Australian National University. He was admitted to the bar many years ago in 1991. Currently serves as the 5th Ombudsman of the Republic of Botswana. He brings a wealth of experience overseeing criminal litigation, particularly in fraud, corruption, money laundering, and banking law cases. In addition to his role as an ombudsman, he is the Southern African Regional Coordinator of AOMA. He has served in various capacities, including that of Director of Public Prosecution, Secretary for International and Commercial Services in the Attorney General's Chambers, Director of Legal Services and Council Secretary at the Botswana International University of Science and Technology. He was also a board member of the Mental Health Board, Stepping Stones International, and other state-owned enterprises. In these positions, he has made significant contributions to the legal, academic, and public sector. Advocate Stephen's unwavering dedication to justice and fairness in the Southern African region cannot be overstated. He'll be speaking to us this morning or afternoon or evening, depending on where you are, on the topic, understanding the alignment of customer service with organizational goals. Over to you, Advocate Stephen.
Thank you, our Program Director. Greetings to colleagues from across the globe. Greetings to distinguished colleagues who will be participating in the seminar. It is my pleasure indeed Program Director, to present on the topic of aligning customer service with organizational goals, recognizing the impact of customer satisfaction on organizational operations. I will start with a quotation. It says, "A satisfied customer is the best business strategy," by one Michael Leboeuf. In talking to today's topic, we must appreciate that today's business environment puts customer service ahead of its business operations. Therefore, we must harmonize the organization's goals, missions, and vision with a customer-centric approach to business. This harmonization assists in creating an effective approach to serving customers and contributing towards the overall success of the organization. Ombudsman's institutions, like any other agencies, have mandates set out by law. In this particular case, been to independently and impartially investigate acts of maladministration, violations of human rights, corruption, etc., depending on the mandate as set out by law. In executing their mandates, these institutions should strive to be customer-centric and should provide an efficient and effective service to customers, both being members of the public and public entities such as ministries, parastatals, etc. In today's presentation, I'm going to consider 3 customer-focused imperatives, namely resolving complaints on time, increasing visibility and accessibility by customers, and improving customer satisfaction, and how aligning these customer service imperatives benefits both the customer and the institution. Starting with the goal, resolving complaints timelessly. We should appreciate that timeliness in handling complaints refers to speed and efficiency with which a complaint is addressed and resolved. It means that there is need to acknowledge a complaint as soon as it is received, to ensure that the complaint is thoroughly investigated and resolved within a reasonable time frame. Timeliness becomes a crucial element of our operations, insofar as it shows that we take serious concern and that there is commitment to providing excellent customer service. In that regard, we are then able to align our customer-centric perspective to our organizational goals, in that we should set service standards and turnaround times within which complaints should be resolved and decisions made on time. We should have periodic meetings as Ombudsman's offices with both ministries, departments, and other agencies to discuss matters before the Ombudsman and to track implementation of our recommendations following investigations. And when necessary, come up with options and solutions to issues and concerns by both the complainants and public institutions concerned. This way, we'll be able to get speedy responses from ministries, departments, and agencies. Furthermore, we should strive to utilize alternative resolution mechanisms rather than going the long process of investigation. So we should be mindful of using mediation, reconciliation, etc., as a tool to achieve a more beneficial outcome for our customers. Thirdly, we need to also, as the Office of the Ombudsman, be mindful that certain problems are not relative to one individual customer, but that these are systemic. And therefore, where necessary, we need to have a mechanism for adopting a systemic approach to investigation so that problems are nipped in the bud and that we are able to resolve problems presented to us on time, where the underlying root have been dealt with, where the systemic or behavioral issues have been effectively addressed, thereby enhancing timely resolution of complaints. Finally, we need to ensure that there is proper resourcing of institutions, both in terms of staff, resources, equipment, and training. There is need to ensure that staff are provided the necessaries and equipped to conduct investigations diligently. So if investigations are timely resolved, we will have hopefully less frustrated customers, that issues can be escalated speedily, and prolonged resolution prevented, thereby creating trust and confidence between the organization and customers. I now proceed to the second goal, increasing visibility and accessibility of the office to the customers. For us as ombudsman's institutions to deliver service effectively, we should be accessible and visible to the public. One proceed from the perspective that our countries are quite large, that service centers are sometimes far from customers, and therefore we must put in place mechanisms to ensure that we are visible to the customers and that customers are able to access our services. We can do this through decentralization of services by constituting regional office branches, satellite centers across the country, etc., to ensure that customers are able to lodge complaints at their convenience and at their time. One other tool could be to ensure that we have adequate telephone access, particularly toll-free telephones, as well as email and other media through which customers can reach our offices. This will enable customers to make contact and lodge complaints from points of convenience and do not have to travel to main centers. But we must also ensure that staff attending to these toll-free calls and email services should be trained to handle initial complaint screenings. Further, we need to ensure that as ombudsmen, we continuously have what we call mobile clinics and road shows in areas where there are no access points, offices, or where office people are not able to access toll-free telephones, etc. Particularly, these would be remote areas where members of the public can be reached by mobile services provided to those remote centers. We need to ensure adequate automation of the investigation processes, particularly using IT and other means, so that offices our complaints do not need to come to offices physically, but can log in complaints using relevant IT technologies. But also that even when we have those, customers are able to track progress of their complaints through the system at any time and at no cost. We also need to be customer-centric in the sense that we need to have mechanisms for providing accessibility by people with disabilities, e.g. those who are wheelchair-bound, able to cater for people with hearing and sight disabilities, illiterate customers, as well as those who have language barrier problems. And then to continuously embark on public education and outreach programs to ensure that the public knows about the services that the ombudsman institutions offer, as well as to use those to share good practices and lessons learned, in particularly share that with ministries, departments, and other governmental agencies. The benefits of accessibility and visibility are that working customers and those unfamiliar with a particular area are able to locate offices because of their visibility. Customers who cannot come to the main office can be assisted through regional points and other services. There is also need to ensure office awareness, such that if the office is easily accessible and is located conveniently, the public is more encouraged to use it. And then, of course, making provisions for vulnerable people, such that they feel welcome and they feel that the service offered is of value to them. Program Director, I proceed to the third customer goal, being to improve customer satisfaction. Improving customer satisfaction entails understanding, communicating, and delivering what customers need and want. And we can align the customer service satisfaction imperative through creating a customer-centric culture within our institutions, emphasizing the need to address concerns of customers, to address customer needs, and to make customers appreciate the value that can be obtained from engaging with the Office of the Ombudsman. In return, staff should be trained to empathize with customers and prioritize customer satisfaction as a driver of their day-to-day activities. And this is dependent on the organizational leadership setting the tone and offering support to both staff and customers in this regard. There is need to have continuous feedback from customers through surveys and gathering other feedback as to satisfaction with services and various aspects of operations. This can be done upon completion of investigation or from time to time having surveys of customer satisfaction. Availing of services online is helpful for customers who are far from the offices, as well as those who prefer self-service. This means that a customer should be allowed to choose a modality of how they want to conduct or contact the office, thereby hopefully encouraging them to engage the office in a manner that suits them. Most importantly, as ombudsman's institutions, we should have clear customer key performance indicators, such as number of complaints resolved within turnaround time, number of complaints resolved within a particular period, vis-a-vis the number of the total complaints received, so that we are able to show to customers how well we are achieving our goals, missions, and vision. Further, they need to have a clear sense of how own motion investigations can be done. Having own motion investigation will also allow the Office of the Ombudsman to be able to move speedily where no specific complaints have been received, such that it also becomes clear that the Ombudsman is not just sitting there waiting for complaints, but that they are actually monitoring the real problems that customers receive or engage or encounter when dealing with government institutions. The benefits of customer satisfaction is that customers, the organization becomes of customer preferences. They become aware of customer points, pain points, as well as looking at trends, which it can work on to achieve more customer services satisfaction. And then also the need to reduce customer grievances. Because as customers engage with ombudsman's offices, they also have grievances about how the complaints are dealt with. And negative feedback will have an impact on customer satisfaction with our customer satisfaction compliance as in ombudsman's institutions. The impact of customer satisfaction on operations are such that we'll be able to give feedback to customers on interactions, whereby we will be able to identify where there are needs for improvement, as well as implementing changes in our operations to meet customer needs. For example, we can regularly review and update strategies and processes to ensure that these are aligned with our organizational goals, as and when we receive appropriate feedback from customers. A customer-centric team that listens, understands, and resolves complaints timely enhances satisfaction levels, thereby positively impacting on organizational reputation. And we need to ensure that our reputations are intact. Customer satisfaction can
Advocate Stephen, you have less than 5 minutes. Thank you.
No, I should be done in the next 2.5 minutes. Thank you. Positive customer feedback will also boost staff morale and motivation as they realize the impact of their efforts. And this can lead to a positive work environment and reduce or prevent staff attrition, which is a challenge that ombudsman institutions have across the globe. It can also, customer satisfaction can also improve allocation of resources, determine areas of training and capacitation, what technologies we need to leverage, how we can improve our infrastructure and the work environment. And then finally, talking about customer feedback. This can prompt an organization to establish grievance management systems that will cater for customer grievances and make customers aware of various redress avenues at their disposal, effectively allowing customer grievances to be dealt with objectively, and also addressing these grievances promptly and building relationships with customers. In conclusion, our program director, we hope that with the foregoing, we've been able to demonstrate how alignment of customer service imperatives with our organizational goals is not just a mere strategic choice, but a fundamental necessity for any organizations to live its mandate and achieve its mandate. We hope that the examples have highlighted how to achieve a multitude of benefits for both the organization and customers. It must be emphasized that this alignment is not or should not be a one-time effort, but an ongoing process demanding vigilance, adaptability, and continuous improvement within the organization. Customer satisfaction is intricately connected to efficiency and effectiveness of an organizational function. It must be prioritized as well as effectively and actively managed, hoping that this will then increase the overall success of the organization. Program Director, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Advocate Stephen, for that thought-provoking presentation. Speaking from an experienced point of view, leaves a lot of lessons for us that are listening in. We will have questions typed in the chat. We will not be able to have an open question and answer session, but your questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. Thank you. Timelines are very important in handling complaints because this leads to less frustration from customers. You reminded us timelines increase trust for our institutions. If we meet our customers and those our clients' needs timely, then there will be a lot of trust for the institutions that we work with. Visibility of the Ombudsman, if we keep the timelines, it's very important for the Ombudsman to inculcate customer services, proper customer service care in their services, because then the Ombudsman will be visible and they'll be trusted. Let's keep the questions coming in. I received a comment from Justice Nturi, who suggests that there must be human rights awareness which may take place within the community. Thank you. Keep the comments and questions coming. We'll get an opportune moment when our participants will be able to answer them. I have a question for you already, Advocate Stephen, that you will answer. What can we do? What can we do different to help an ombudsman institution investigate the administrative injustice in a third world? What can we do different to help an ombudsman institution investigate the administrative injustice in a third world country where there is high hardness? You want to answer that now as I prepare to call in the next speaker?
I'll try to answer that right now. I think we generally proceed from the perspective that government is big, government is powerful, and that against an individual, it becomes like a big stumbling block. And it becomes necessary that the ombudsman has ability to talk to government, to seek a softer government in dealing with complaints. The biggest concern, I think, for customers is that they find talking to government a very difficult exercise. Therefore, there is need to continuously engage with government to show what the real customer complaints are that government has to address. The ombudsman cannot stand back and not engage with government, but continuously have outreach with government entities to show to them what complaints from the public have been received through the Ombudsman's office, and then to share the best practices as to how some of these problems that are brought to the Ombudsman can be resolved. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Stephen. It's important, ladies and gentlemen, that we continuously have constructive engagements with our government. We'll go now to our second speaker, Honorable Abiola Ayo Yusuf. A second speaker is the Honorable Abiola Ayo Yusuf. You'll forgive the pronunciation. Honorable Abiola is the Deputy Secretary General of AOMA. He graduated from the University of Lagos in 1988 with a bachelor's degree in mathematics. Beyond his scholarly pursuits, Honorable Abiola Ayo Yusuf is a savvy entrepreneur with influential positions across key sectors of the Nigerian economy. He's a skilled political figure and consummate bridge builder. His reputation as an opinion leader and outstanding philanthropist gained him an award from a prominent NGO celebrating his inspirational impact on youth in Nigeria. As a former board member of agriculture in Lagos State, Honorable Abiola actively supports the Nigerian police force, serving as a dedicated patron for the Police Community Relations Committee. He held the position of Honorable Commissioner at the Public Complaints Commission, Lagos State Office for 3 years and is therefore an accomplished ombudsman committed to conducting systemic investigations into complaints. Today, Honorable Abiola will be speaking to us on the core principles of excellent customer service through practical illustrations. I repeat that, the core principles of excellent customer service through practical illustrations. Ladies and gentlemen, keep the questions coming so that at an opportune moment, we'll have our presenters answer them. Over to you, Honorable.
Good morning to all members.
Honorable, we cannot hear you. At least I cannot hear you from my side.
Okay, all right. Can you hear me now? Good morning. Good morning to everybody. Can everybody hear me?
Yes,
We can hear you, Honorable, but there's a feedback.
All right. Starting on existing protocols, I say good morning to all members of AOMA. Now, I'd like to correct you. It's not Abiola Ayo Yusuf, it is Abimbola Ayo Yusuf. All right, so now go to the topic, the core principles of excellent customer service. The Ombudsman is committed to delivering high quality customer service in a timely and flexible way that meets the needs of individuals and ensures a fair investigation and resolution of disputes. The Ombudsman customer service principles are expected to reflect its core values. You should apply to its work with its peculiar stakeholders, which include complainants, respondents, and service providers, as well as how staff work together to achieve the organizational goals. It doesn't matter how great our mandates and the services the Ombudsman have, if its customer service is poor.
Honorable, there's so much echo from where you are, so we cannot hear you very well. I would suggest that if you have more than one device in the same room, you switch it off so that we're able to hear you audibly.
Okay, all right. Put it off to the Commissioner. Hold on a minute. Let me just get it off. It's up there.
It's not very okay. I don't know what Marion, can you hear the feedback?
Yeah,
Yes, I can actually hear the echoing. It's not very clear. Maybe the Honorable Abimbola can get closer to the mic and maybe switch off any other devices in the room.
Okay, check it out. Is it better now?
We'll have to make like a statement for us to know, to be sure that we can get you very well.
Good morning, everybody.
There's still an echo in the background.
Check it out. Take the phones out. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Is there an echo now?
Let's proceed. Maybe it will get better along the way, but it's not yet there, but it will get better.
I'll start from the beginning again. The Ombudsman is committed to delivering high-quality customer service in a timely and flexible way that meets the needs of individuals and ensures a fair investigation and resolution of disputes. The Ombudsman Customer Service principles are expected to reflect its core values. This should apply to it.
Honorable, there is still an echo and we cannot hear you very well. If there's any other device in the room where you are, please mute them. Mute all the devices around you. And if you could use one device, then the sound will be better.
There's no devices around me.
And your video is also not on, just in case you wanted to put it on. If you could click the video so that we'll be able to see you.
And everything is being done from your side.
Okay, would you want to switch the device off and try to join in again?
Okay, let me do that.
Okay. Can we move on with the next speakers while we are resolving this on the background?
Absolutely, that's what I thought. So we will use the opportunity to have our next speaker, the third speaker, and then we'll come back to Honorable after we get his machine better. So we have Professor Thuri Madonsela. Professor Thuri Madonsela. Professor Thuri is an advocate and professor of law. She is the former public prosecutor of South Africa, co-architect and founding chairperson of the African Ombudsman Research Center. After retiring as the South African Public Protector, she became the chair in social justice at the law faculty of Stellenbosch University in 2018, mainly focusing on social justice issues, including administrative justice. She was instrumental in drafting South Africa's constitution, promulgated by former President Nelson Mandela. Professor Thuli is discussing dealing with irate customers, insights into understanding and managing customer complaints, along with effective techniques for diffusing tension and transforming negative experiences into positive ones. I'll repeat that. She will be speaking to us on dealing with irate customers, insights into understanding and managing customer complaints, along with effective techniques for diffusing tension and transforming negative experiences into positive ones. This is very timely. Professor, we look forward to learning from your vast experience. Over to you.
Professor Madonsela, please unmute.
Hi. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you to the Public Protector of South Africa, Advocate Koleka, and to the entire Advocate Koleka Kaleka, and to the entire Ombudsman community in this room. I cherish this privilege, not only because I was a public protector at some stage in my life, but also because I believe this institution is exceptionally important for peace building in all societies. We live in a stage of unpeace. That's what Mark Leonard has described our time as the age of unpeace, which is the age where we don't have war, or at least we don't have the Third World War, but we don't have peace either. Of course, Mark Leonard is talking about peace at a global stage, and he wrote before the Palestinian question came into the picture. We still had the Ukraine war and many of the other wars in the Sudan, the Congo, etc. But we didn't have something that was threatening to be the Third World War. What is important, though, when we're looking at unpeace, we should look at not just the global picture, the absence of peace in the way we deal with each other on a day-to-day basis. When they came up with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 75 years ago, Eleanor Roosevelt expressed that she thought that by the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, peace would be humanity's prize and wars and conflict will be behind us. But she said something that was absolutely important for the Ombudsman institution or public protector institutions all over the world. It was that for peace to be experienced in the whole world, there needs to be justice in the small spaces, in workplaces, in service delivery by government, in all of the little spaces where humans encounter each other. Because conflict starts in those small spaces where we don't encounter each other in a way that is anchored in shared humanity, or what we refer to in our continent as Ubuntu. And therefore, that's the vital importance of the Ombudsman institution that has been underscored by Advocate Galeka, the Public Protector of South Africa, and the other colleagues that have spoken before me. But at the core of that, as we've spoken, is how this institution engages with customer service. It's not enough that justice is done. Equally important is how people feel in these interactions. Do they feel they matter as people? Do they feel there's fairness? Do they feel they've been treated with respect and understanding? I am supposed to deal with, how do you deal with customers that are already irate because they're angry over the way they've been treated with other institutions? So I'll talk a little bit about our experience during my time as public protector and how do you de-escalate those matters. In other words, how do you prevent case hardening and how do you restore trust in these institutions? Firstly, it starts with understanding who is a customer, dear colleagues. During my time in the Department of Justice, we had to do a customer service charter. Traditionally, it's understood that a customer is only the one who has complained. I would say that's the chief customer, but not the only customer. The institutions that we work with, the institutions that you oversee or supervise as an ombudsman institution are customers also. So just as the original customer who was mistreated or allegedly mistreated by a state institution is a core customer, the one you are holding to account is a customer too. And it becomes extremely important that both customers are treated with the kinds of skills that optimize two things. The first one is cooperation. It's very difficult to conclude an ombudsman process if those you are dealing with are not cooperating. Whether because they're not giving you the answers or they're delaying answers or they're just screaming at each other at the meeting. So firstly, customer service or customer care has to ensure that everyone is calm, trusts the process, trusts you, trusts that there's fairness. And how is that done? By everyone feeling that they're treated, as the public protector said earlier, with a certain level of kindness, fairness, and ultimately, they feel that this process is imbued with empathy and justice. I repeat again that this does not only apply to the complainants, it also applies to those who are answerable. The second reason you want to make sure that you treat everyone fairly to de-escalate the conflict is to ensure, beyond cooperation in the meeting, that the solutions you're going to come out with in that meeting are lasting. Because everyone must come out feeling there was justice in that room. And if you are rooted in Ubuntu and the restorative justice ethos that underpins the Ubuntu process, it's understood that people should not go to court as enemies and come back as worse enemies. And how do you make sure that they come back more friendlier to each other is when everyone feels they were really heard, there was empathy towards them, and that the whole process was fair and just, even if you decide against them. And I remember Minister Dala Oma used to say that when we think about access to justice, it's important that when people go to court, they come back feeling a sense of respect for the court, even if the court has decided against them. And that can only come if everyone feels the system was fair and just. The next point is, how do you then do that? How do you ensure that your process does not escalate the conflict that was brought to you? It de-escalates the conflict. Well, the first thing that you're going to do is understand clarity of purpose of the role of the Ombudsman. As Power Protector, we were lucky that we stumbled into a process of defining the purpose of the institution. Incidentally, that whole process came from me having not been optimal in treating my internal customers, that is the staff of the Power Protector, being unhappy about the fact that people were rewarded for disposing as many cases as possible. In other words, they were very good on promptitude, but on rigor, they were poor. And in that way, we were rewarding those who could cheat and punishing those who were working hard, ensuring that they were balancing rigor with promptitude. So I was right on the merits of the case to make the decision I made. And the decision I made was to decide not to give people their bonuses. In South Africa, we give people Christmas bonuses. So who does that? I did that just towards the end of the year. And of course, I got unfollowed, not on Twitter, in real life, because I was right on the merits, but not on the process. And that started an amazing process of defining the purpose of the institution. And the purpose is broader than the mandate, the constitutional mandate of the institution. For example, in South Africa, the constitutional mandate is roughly to investigate all alleged or suspected improper conduct in state affairs and the public sector, to report on that and take appropriate remedial action. But it doesn't say why is all of this being done. So the whole purpose exercise, purpose investigation exercise was to find out, why do we exist? Other than the fact that the Constitution says we must exist, what value do we add to humanity? And that was amazing, because based on that, we were able to understand that at the core of our work is to ensure that those who feel they've been treated unjustly get justice. And we also said justice delayed is the same as justice denied. And therefore, the outcome of that was to make sure that you balance promptitude and rigor. What do you need to do that? If you're going to then, a lot of people who come into these institutions come already feeling exasperated because they've been from pillar to post. I just remember a certain Mrs. Makudubela. So not only have they been sent from pillar to post, they are at a stage where their own personal situation has been disrupted. So if you've been treated, if you've been traumatized, your mental health is bound to be affected. And you're likely to be rude, and you're likely to be on the edge. And neuroscience tells us that when they talk about the polyvagal theory, the average person who is balanced operates on a neutral, you would say neutral gear of a car. But those who have been traumatized are at the age heightened state of awareness, and anything that doesn't go their way can make them blow up and be rude. So you've got to anticipate that. You need the ability to anticipate, to be able to be kind, to be fair and just, regardless of attacks on you. And yes, this one particular complainant attacked everyone from cleaner to the public protector herself. And of course, if you are not aware of the reality of what people experience, then you will exacerbate that, or you might not even treat them well. And I can tell you of cases where sometimes team members would write very rude letters back to the complainant because the complainant was rude. Same thing happens to people in government. Sometimes you'll find that what the complainant tells you is not necessarily how the people on the other side understand happened. And sometimes they're going through their own difficulties in life, and their first reaction is just to be rude, to write very legalistic letters. And you can be, you can find yourself responding in kind, but it becomes important to realize that yours is to stay with purpose. Everything you say or do not say should be informed by what outcomes do you want. So you need a certain level of impact consciousness. Remember, you're trying to facilitate cooperation. And lastly, you are making sure that whatever outcome emerges from that situation is respected by all parties and is implemented by all parties. And lastly, that there's peace after this. Because there's no, it doesn't really work well that somebody wins at the public protector, but when they go back there, there's so much hostilities and they're not assisted to reintegrate in an organization, if it's an organization, or in the community, to restore the relationship between the municipality, for example, and that person, or the relationship between a community and an organ of state that was not serving them equal. So what do you need to be able to do these things? My colleagues have already indicated to you that you need professional skills.
Professor, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, ma'am. So my colleagues have already said that you need professional skills, investigation skills, conciliation, mediation, report writing, and you need project management to make sure that you're able to be prompt in the way you do these things. I would say that in addition to that, you need character skills. You need a particular disposition to justice. And I just want to say to you, I personally have discovered that there are 3 stages of consciousness about justice. The first stage is when you're conscious about justice for yourself, and obviously you'll fight for yourself. Those of us who are women, you relate to the fact that the first thing you realize is injustice in life is how your brother is allowed to play more whilst you do all the work at home. For me, for example, it was doing schoolwork, doing laundry, cooking, etc. Whilst my brother went to play soccer somewhere around. So that's the first time your consciousness. Thereafter, you start being conscious that other women are also treated badly in a context where there's ethnicity. You realize that people of your ethnic group are treated badly. And in South Africa, it would be race, class, etc. The third level of justice consciousness is justice. So the level 2, I call justice as just us. And it's extremely important that if you're an ombudsman or an ombudsman employee, you really transcend the stage of only justice for you or justice as just us, and you go into the stage of justice for all. Then at stage 4, you've got to understand also that justice for you is important. Justice for people like you is important. Justice for all is important. But everything you do is about justice. That's why from how a person is treated on arriving, just to de-escalate, give them a cup of tea, talk to them, don't call them Jane, call them Mrs. So-and-so unless they give you permission to call them Jane. Just treat them with utmost respect. That automatically de-escalates them. So for me, that becomes the stage of all about justice. Everything we do in life has justice implications. The last part is all for justice. And as an ombudsman, you've got to understand that the people who work for government have to be treated justly so that they too can be just. So that every experience with an ombudsman institution is an educational opportunity. It's, as Paulo Freire, it must be transformative. It must educate them on how to be human with other people as we are required under Ubuntu. And how do you get these skills as a last issue? You get these skills through institution-driven training. The second skill is through associations such as AOMA. But I would encourage you to engage in self-development. Look for courses out there. We at Stellenbosch University, for example, we have a course on administrative investigations and commissions of inquiry. So beyond AOMA, ACFE, IOI, look for courses offered by university, but also YouTube, online. There I would just say make sure that whoever is offering the course has some kind of professional experience in that way. In conclusion, dear colleagues, we live in the age of peace. You don't realize how important your work is, because the big conflicts we see in the world out there are primarily by people who haven't healed from the whole small conflicts that have traumatized them. If we can de-escalate the small conflicts, we would contribute immensely to peace in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you so much. That was very enriching, very, very powerful. There's many comments that were shared, profound presentation, informed presentation, and I know that it's very timely because we live in a country, or we live in a world. Your attention up to the second speaker. I had already introduced our second speaker, but I will just summarize for purposes of us coming to speed on who is coming in. Our second speaker will be Honorable Abiola. Honorable Abiola is the Deputy Secretary General of the Africa Ombudsman and Mediators Association. He graduated from the University of Lagos in 1988 with a bachelor's degree in mathematics. Beyond his scholarly pursuits, Honorable Abiola is a savvy entrepreneur with influential positions across key sectors of the Nigerian economy. He is a skilled political figure and consummate bridge builder. His reputation as an opinion leader and an outstanding philanthropist gained him an award from a prominent NGO celebrating his inspirational impact on youth in Nigeria. As a former board member of agriculture in Lagos State, Honorable Abiola actively supports the Nigerian Police Force, serving as a dedicated patron for the Police Community Relations Committee. He held the position of Honorable Commissioner at the Public Complaints Commission, Lagos State Office for 3 years, and is therefore an accomplished ombudsman committed to conducting systemic investigations into complaints. He is going to be talking to us this afternoon from Uganda, and good evening from other countries and morning in other jurisdictions. He's talking to us about the core principles of excellent customer service through practical illustrations. Over to you, Honorable Abiola.
All members, let me correct you. It's Abimbola, not Abiola. Abimbola. Yes, sir.
My sincere apologies. I'll try to do better.
It's all right. Okay. Standing on existing protocols, I'll talk on the core principles of excellent customer service. The Ombudsman is committed to delivering high-quality customer service in a timely and flexible way that meets the needs of individuals and ensures a fair investigation and resolution of disputes. The Ombudsman customer service principles are expected to reflect its core values. They shall apply to his work with its peculiar stakeholders, which include complainants, respondents, and service providers, as well as how the staff work together to achieve the organizational goals. It doesn't matter how great our mandates and the service of the Ombudsman are, if its customer service is poor, people will complain about it and it will lose its credibility and patronage. It's not impossible to turn things around. However, transforming an organization's customer service requires a serious commitment to meaningful change and work across the entire organization. What is customer service? Customer service is the act of providing support to both potential and existing customers. Customer service professionals usually answer customers' inquiries through several avenues, which may include, but not limited to, face-to-face interactions, phones, letters, emails, chats, and social media interactions. They may also be responsible for creating documentation for self-service support. Due to the peculiarity of the Ombudsman's services, the Ombudsman customer service will be seen as the act of providing timely, emphatic help that keeps customers' needs at the forefront of every interaction. The customer service is a direct connection between the people and the Ombudsman. The importance of the customer service to the Ombudsman. Since it is the role of the Ombudsman to bridge the gap between the government and the citizens by promoting a more people-oriented approach to government, implementing essential customer service can improve its relationship with customers. Excellent customer service gives members of the public a complete, cohesive experience that is in line with an ombudsman's purpose of ensuring good service delivery. The understanding that customer service is the cornerstone of the customer's experience helps the Ombudsman institution to leverage it as an opportunity to delight customers and engage them in exciting ways. The following are some of the benefits of good customer care to the Ombudsman institution. To increase patronage by customers. Good customer service always helps to increase patronage by customers. It is what keeps the customers coming back for more services and spreading by word of mouth about the services they received. When it comes to the importance of customer service, customer patronage and retention is one of the biggest factors to keep in mind. Thus, when the customers are giving great experiences, they will continue to come back and also encourage others to take advantage of the services provided by the Ombudsman. Customer loyalty is a customer's commitment and cooperation to all the procedures of investigation and dispute resolution. Oftentimes, customers become difficult because of the unpleasant attitude they receive from the organization. A loyal customer will always select the Ombudsman method of settling disputes instead of going for litigation or any alternative service provider. And this helps to eliminate any competition. Without a doubt, loyal customers are very valuable assets because they ease dispute resolution process. Customer loyalty can be encouraged by offering excellent customer service. To build up a strong culture and reputation. A strong culture and reputation goes a long way for any organization. The culture is the psychology, the attitudes, and beliefs that influence the impression the members of the public have about the institution. the story of the organization and how its team members engage with customers is what develops culture and reputation. While interacting with members of the public, always keep in mind that the customers need to be able to differentiate you from other organizations that have similar mandates when it comes to values. To get referrals, people usually turn to their network of family and friends when they have problems. The importance of referrals is undeniable. Referrals are a powerful way to get your customers to do the marketing for you. And with great customer service, you increase the chances that current customers will refer you to their social circle. At the same time, bad referrals can be building blocks of a negative reputation and can ultimately drive away future customers in the long run. The core principles of excellent customer service. There are so many principles of excellent customer service, but for the purpose of time, I will discuss 4 key principles. They are personalized interaction, competence, convenience, and proactive. These factors have the biggest influence on the customer experience, and if practically applied, they will also keep the customers satisfied and boost the image and credibility of the Ombudsman institution. The personalized interaction. Good customer service always starts with a human touch. Personalized interactions greatly improve customer service and let customers know that the Ombudsman cares about them and their complaints. Communicate using plain language so that they can make appropriate and informed choices. Communicate in a way that can be understood. Avoid using jargon. Provide clear and relevant information. Discuss with the customers at the beginning what they can expect from the service provided. Explain the complaints handling process and keep them updated about what is happening to their cases. Listen carefully and ask questions to understand the customer's grievances. Make sure the customers are clear about the processes of complaint handling at every stage of the complaint. Assure them that the Ombudsman is impartial, thorough, and bases its work on facts. 2, competence. Competence has been identified as an element that plays the biggest role in a good customer experience. To be competent, staff that interact with customers must have strong knowledge of the mandate of the Ombudsman and the services it provides, as well as the power to fix the customer's problems. The more knowledge they have, the more competent they become. Be professional and knowledgeable. Be clear about the information you need from the customers. Officers are to assure customers that the organization is objective, non-judgmental, and fair throughout its investigation. This will in turn boost the confidence customers have in the organization. 3, customers want to be able to get in touch with a customer service representative through whichever channel is the most convenient for them. The Ombudsman should offer support through the channels of communication. The Ombudsman should offer support through the channels of communication the customers rely on most and make it easy for customers to figure out how to contact them. Accessible channels should be made available to customers. Social media platforms should be used to display services and demonstrate good customer service through meaningful engagement with customers. 4, proactive. Customers usually want organizations to be proactive in reaching out to them. They need to be constantly kept abreast with developments on their cases or proactively reached out to when issues affecting them arise. They may not be happy about the situation, but they'll be thankful that they are kept in the loop. Let the customer know their needs are understood and their complaints will be dealt with promptly. Keep them informed at all times through their involvement as to what to expect and when to expect it. Let them know as soon as possible if the Ombudsman is unable to entertain their complaints. By building customer service strategy around these four main principles, the Ombudsman will create a positive, hassle-free customer experience for every customer that approaches it. Key customer service skills. While delivering consistently, good customer service requires work and alignment with the entire organizational goal. A good place to start is putting in place a good customer service team. It is important to hire people who genuinely want to help the customers succeed. Customer service teams should be staff that thrive on one-on-one interactions with people, love problem solving, warm, approachable, and great at teaching other people how things work. Here are some customer service skills that every support professional working with an ombudsman institution should seek to develop. 1, problem solving. A clear communication skill. Writing skills. Active listening. That means you must listen more than talk. Adequate knowledge. You need to know all the facts, all the principles of the ombudsman while you're talking to your customer. Persuasive skills. You will need to be able to persuade either the respondent or the complainant to get your own angle of your resolution. Time management. Very, very important, because the earlier you resolve issues, better for the customers. Patience. The ombudsman needs to be very patient. You need to have listening ears. You would have your crowd send respondents that will give you issues, but you need to be patient.
Honorable, you
thank
have...
you all. I'm timing myself.
You beat me at that. Thank you so much. Thank you. This has been very engaging presentation. Thank you. Food for thought for us, but a reminder for our role as a ombudsman to have good customer skills, customer care skills. So meeting customer needs is in a timely way. What has stood out throughout these presentations this morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are, is that as an ombudsman, we must always ensure that we work on time. Time is a great asset to the people that we serve. So loyalty to our customers is very key, but everything must be done very timely. Engage referral systems. It's not just enough for us to refer a matter. It's important for us to find out whether that matter has been conclusively handled. The end justifies the means, as the common saying goes. Communicate in a way that you'll be understood. Avoid vagueness in our communications. That's what stood out for me. Honorable Ayo, I will not try ambiviola. I'll not try that. Let's stick with Ayo. That's easier for me. So thank you for challenging us to live up to our calling, and that speaking and writing skills are paramount for an ombudsman. Absolutely, because you must be understood very well to the people that you are commenting you're writing to. Thank you. There's so many comments in the chat room. Thanking you for your great presentation. And now we go to the question and answer session. Very many questions came across, and I will just throw the questions. If you feel that is under what you presented, please go ahead and answer the questions. I don't see Professor, and Professor, I would kindly want to request that you share your presentation. We have the other presentations, but we haven't been able to get yours. Would you kindly share your presentation with us? People are asking for it. So the first questions that came in before the webinar started, we'll start with that. Someone asked, why is it important Why is it important to have strategies that improve customer care? Why is it important? That will go to you, Honorable Ayo. Do these capacities vary from one? No, the best way of mastering the customer service skills is adopting Japanese concept of just in time. What I like most about this concept is when during the order level, the customer find that the order is ready and there are no delays. So I think the question was, do these capabilities vary from one country to another, or it is a unified model? That would be for you, Professor. And the third question is, how do you handle those who initiate a service failure intentionally or unintentionally, which results in an ombudsman office having to deal with a customer that needs help for not getting services which they were not initially entitled to get? I will repeat that. How do you handle those who initiate a service failure intentionally or unintentionally, which results in an ombudsman office having to deal with a customer that needs help for not getting the services which they were initially entitled to get? That will be for you, Advocate Stephen. Then lastly, the services we offer to our various stakeholders are quite unique. We therefore need guidance and exchange of experience on the best way of delivery and packaging in order to satisfy our customers. A comment from Professor on that, a comment from you will be good. I could repeat it. The services we offer to our various stakeholders are quite unique. We therefore need guidance and exchange of experience on the best way of delivery and packaging in order to satisfy our customers. You may have to emphasize the need for experience in the service, in our commodity that we offer. Then as you made presentations, there were other questions that came in. How do you deal with complainants? How do you deal with complainants who express dissatisfaction with the resolution taken by the public protector? How do you deal with complainants who express dissatisfaction with the resolution taken by the public protector? Professor, that would be yours. There's another question. Which ombudsman should the students residing in private lodgings approach when their lodging rights are abused or deprived? I suspect this is from South Africa as well. So I'll ask you, Professor, to still answer that. Why is it important, Advocate Stephen, this is for you. Why is it important to have strategies that improve customer services? Why is it important to have strategies that deal with customer services? And then lastly, for you, Professor, I know it's for Honorable Ayo. How do you deal with a negative customer? How do you deal? I think the person is asking for nuggets on how to deal with a negative customer. The one I just shared with you, they just came to me and they told me at 8 p.m. that I should be in office attending to their work. And that was a person that was very negative from the onset. How do we deal with them? And then there's a last one that we'll take. How does an ombudsman maintain their pause when the complainant becomes abusive? Who wants to take that? Can the three of you share your experiences on how an ombudsman maintains their pause when the complainant becomes abusive? We'll go in the order we started. Over to you, Advocate Stephen. Please, we'll have you first. Thank you.
Thank you, Program Director. I will start with the question of why is it important to have strategies that deal with our customer strategies, our customer satisfaction issues. I believe that the Office of the Ombudsman is essentially talking to a provision of service within the government system. Therefore, it becomes necessary for the office itself to ensure that in their provision of services, they are attuned to customer complaint issues and what are fundamental structures and failures of those structures in government would be. Therefore, one must understand how government institutions, state institutions operate for them to be able to deal with those failures of service delivery. And you cannot deal with failures of service delivery unless you have a clear sense of what your customer needs are. And having defined your customer needs, then you should be able to have systems and processes that allow for you to deal with customer complaints. And that is both in relation to your internal processes as well as processes obtaining from dealing with complaints relating to systemic failure. So it's two-pronged. Within the organization, what do you have in place? And in relation to failures that one would have been investigating, how can you best deal with the failures by government institutions? You can't just deal with this where you don't have a clearly defined platform as to how you are going to engage with your customers, the complainants, as well as how to address the complaints that they have generated and placed before your office. It becomes very, very imperative that you do have set platforms, and therefore the strategies that you have put in place or must put in place need to be very, very concise in terms of dealing with both the internal and external customer complaint resolution. Otherwise, you'd be dealing with various entities applying different methodologies that may not get you the best results. So a stated and clearly defined strategy becomes imperative in that respect. I hope I have covered that, Program Director. The other question was, how do you deal with complaints where there has been a deliberate failure, intentional or otherwise, caused by, one may say, an officer within a government institution? I believe you need to be able to identify the type of, let's call it bad behavior, and decide whether, for instance, that bad behavior is criminal or is purely negligent. Some behavior, therefore, would have to be referred to respective agencies that deal with specific issues. So, for instance, a bad public behavior that is just purely negligent would have to be deferred to a relevant public service disciplinary process. Because in my view, that would be dealing with a problem that is essentially outside of the ambit of the Ombudsman's powers. But similarly, you may find that the other behavior is fraudulent, it's criminal, and therefore you'd have to refer it to an appropriate agency within government to deal with that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We will go to our next speaker, who was Professor Thuri. Please, would you briefly respond? I'll give each one of you a minute, just a minute to conclude, and then I will call Marion to give the concluding remarks. Over to you, Professor. Okay, Professor, as we wait. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. And thank you to the colleagues that have raised some questions and made some comments, and thank you for your amazing summary of the salient points. Although you didn't ask me to deal with this one, I wanted to just have a short contribution on the negative customer. I think the negative customer is similar to the irate customer. As I indicated, they come already stressed by whatever has happened. Firstly, don't take it personal. Understand that they are wearing shoes that are pinching them and they're in pain. And when people are in pain, they lash out. So when they're lashing out at you, it's not about you. And even after you have decided the case, they might not be entirely satisfied because based on their trauma, they want 100% approval and they might still insult you. But de-escalate the situation. So that, for me, that's important. To be able to do that, though, colleagues, we also need self-care. It's not possible to take all the insults if you're not giving yourself self-care. Yoga, meditation, walking around. Personally, those are things I would do: pray, meditate, walk, and just keep my own sanity in place so that when I deal with people, I do not react, I respond. So that's important. How do we deal with the people who have initiated failure in your team? The first thing we have to do is to set the guardrails to make sure that everyone knows what are we doing, the purpose of the organization, why do we do it, and how do we do things? What are the what things are prohibited and what things are encouraged in the institution? So that should be included. For example, at the Public Sector South Africa, we created a standard operating protocol to make things easier for people to know what to do from intake right up to communicating with the customers afterwards and communicating with the media afterwards. And then when people now have failed the test and the customer comes in, as the senior, whether you're the perpetrator or a supervisor, please suspend judgment, because once you judge, you start thinking with your own amygdala, you're not making rational decisions, you're just more worried about being ashamed that your institution has been dragged into the mud, and you're not going to be able to be empathetic. Because once we are angry, fear kicks in, we're afraid that we're going to lose face as an institution, and we communicate with our amygdala. And what we want, therefore, is for the person to suffer. Seek first to understand. We had a case at the Public Sector where somebody who was a super performer was suddenly not performing, and there were so many complaints, and his cases were taking quite long to conclude. And somebody wanted to fire this young fellow. And my view was, I found him here and was a super performer. Why is he no longer performing now? And we found that he had a particular difficult case with a child who had a condition that most people were not aware of, and there were no schools for that child. And once we had sought to understand, it was easier for him to also understand us, and he was able to start performing again because we provided some kind of accommodation for him, and that becomes extremely important. Just one last thing, colleagues, around communication. It's not only what you say that will make the customer irate or angry with the outcome of your investigation. In fact, they say written communication or spoken communication, verbal communication, only accounts for 90%. So if you're in a meeting with this customer who's irate or unsatisfied, be mindful of your silent communication. The tone of your voice, your body language is going to account for about 70 to 90% of how the person, whether it's a complainant or an institution that we are investigating or a witness. Lastly, we win some, we lose some. In my days as public protector, with some we did everything we could, but some people were still not happy. And you would have heard about cases such as state capture, Nkandla, Midvale, on the point of tenders, etc. Some will still insult you, but at least don't give them reason to insult you. And even when they do insult you, do not play the game. And it boils down to let go of the need to be approved. If you're going to be a public protector, whether as the head of the institution or just an investigator, remember, the average person will only come into contact with investigators in the public protector. I'm not going to say they are ordinary. And therefore you are a representative of the institution. The quality of human interaction between you and them is all that counts. Stay calm, do not seek approval. Know that you have the applause within you, knowing that you've done the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor. Stay calm. You don't have to be approved. Thank you. It's powerful. And now we go lastly, briefly to Honorable Ayo.
Thank you.
Start with how to deal with the negative customer. I stated in my presentation about 8 things you need to do. Where you're a negative customer, first is you need to be very patient with them. Like the professor said earlier on, they're coming with a pinched fit. So whatever, you need to be tolerant. You need to give them time to express their anger or whatever their complaints are. So those are the main things that you need to really know when you're dealing with a negative customer. Then to increase the patronage, customer service patronage, I also mentioned it in my presentation, loyalty, getting referrals, and building a reputation for the organization, so that when customers come, they know that this organization is known to be thorough with whatever investigations they're carrying out. So you need to build that customer loyalty so you can get referrals from here and there. That's the way you build your customer service. You increase you increase the patronage of your customers. So I think the ombudsman there's not much to it. It's just a lot of patience that needs to be. You need to have a lot of patience, a lot of interacting skills. You need to be able to persuade people and convince them to come to your side. That way you can still always get your customer patronage. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're soon coming to an end of this webinar, but there's about 3 questions that I must pass on to you. One of them is a translation from French, which says, often clients delay us in processing their requests by not providing all the necessary information. And when we reach out to them, they take time to send it to us. What should we do? These questions cut across the same problem I face in my country, in Uganda, and I am pleasantly surprised that it's elsewhere. How do you deal with clients or customers that are not responsive, yet they expect you to act? That will be for you, Honorable Ayo. Then I have 2 more questions, and that will be it. At the end of every question, I'll request that you give your closing remarks. Please close up the session because you will not speak again. So for Advocate Stephen, how does an ombudsman navigate the political agenda when resolving disputes? How does an ombudsman navigate the political, or how can an ombudsman navigate the political agenda when resolving disputes? And lastly, for Professor, it will be, how does the ombudsman empower the government departments to avoid service failure? How does an ombudsman empower the government, different government departments to avoid service failure? Those are the 3 questions. Please provide your closing remarks at the end of the questions, and then we will end the webinar. Thank you so much, our participants. We'll be able to answer the questions that you have sent offline, and the presentations will be shared with you at the end of the webinar. Thank you. Over to you, Honorable Ayo.
Okay, customers that you write to and don't get to respond back on time, there's really not much you can do. You will just keep you look for different means to reach out to them, because if they don't get back to you with the questions you're asking them with the answers, you won't be able to proceed with your investigation. So there's really not much you can do if they don't get back to you. Thank you.
Honorable Stephen, over to you. You need to unmute. You are muted. We can't hear you.
How does the Ombudsman navigate the political agenda when resolving disputes? It's a very pertinent question, because it talks to the fundamental nature of ombudsmanship. Remember that the fundamental nature is that the ombudsman must be independent and impartial. And if that ethos is ingrained in organizational behavior, both from the leadership of the organization and from the staff, this enable people to understand that their role is never to be a proponent of any particular view or another. Be able to stand back, put aside your preconceived notions about whatever political agenda or whatever social and economic agenda may be on the table. It's an issue of what level of impartiality leadership in an organization can set out and wish to achieve. It's a difficult question, but it also requires for the organization to be, as I've said initially, engage with government, but know where the lines are drawn, such that one doesn't get overly too comfortable with government, but just maintain a good enough relationship to stay clear of any political influence. It's really a personal, if one may say, a personal drive that is inculcated by leadership into the organization. I hope I've answered the question. It's a difficult question, Chair. And therefore, in closing, I would wish to take this opportunity to invite all colleagues listening to this webinar, not to forget that the Ombudsman's Office in Botswana is hosting an international expo, Ombuds Expo, in July 2024. You are welcome to Gaborone. Information is available at website www.internationalombudsexpo.com. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And lastly, over to you, Professor. Request that you answer the question and then give your closing remarks.
Thank you, Chair. How do you empower government to avoid service failure? What a wonderful question. It's really about the feedback loop, which I excluded in my presentation, but it's extremely important. Part of being an ombudsman is not just to correct wrongdoing through investigations, is to make sure that the same mistakes are not made again. And during my term as Pub Protector and during the terms of my predecessors, we built in conversations with stakeholders, which meant meeting with government departments, with municipalities, etc., and even with the political parties to give them a sense of what kind of issues repeatedly come out of their institutions and how they can deal with them. That's extremely important, but after each investigation that results in a report, you meet with the institution concerned and give them feedback. In fact, in our case, we built 2 stages of feedback. One is at the stage of the provisional report before the final report. For example, there's a report that's written, they called it justice. The original title was, they call it justice, which was a play on the Department of Justice, that they're doing something that is blatantly unjust, but they call it justice. But after the provisional report, we requested a meeting and they all came, Minister, DG, Deputy Minister, and we explained to them why what they were doing was unjust in the treatment of a whistleblower. And through that conversation of giving them feedback, they realized that this was not proper and they changed their mind. Same thing with correctional services when somebody was boarded and lost their benefits in the process. When we met with the minister with her team and explained very nicely, and she realized that she didn't want to harm this person and his family. And there was another way of meeting institutional needs without harming the person. So just feedback, constant feedback, and keeping you cool when they don't understand and never insulting them back at any given stage. So just in conclusion, what I wanted to share here is firstly to thank you for organizing this event, because competent service is not enough when it's not undergirded by good customer service. Even if we do our best, even if the decisions are made are correct, when they're not undergirded by good customer service, they're going to be rejected in the market, and we will look like we are the bad guys. And to be able to cultivate good customer service, we have to start with understanding institutional purpose. The second stage is know who the customers are. And the knowing who the customers are is also a social justice question. I indicated that it is the complainants, it is the respondent institutions, it is also witnesses. But in that diversity, we should also understand that there are rich and poor people, there are sophisticated and unsophisticated people. And it's important what you and others have said here to make sure that we pitch our service at the level of all of the customers so that everyone understands what we're dealing with. Communication must respond to diversity. It must be impact conscious. We must build the necessary skills within our team, which is hard skills of being an ombudsman and being a good lawyer. But soft skills of communication. We must also build the right character, a character that is attuned to justice beyond just us. And lastly, cap the communication. I did indicate that communication is not just verbal. So let's make sure that our communication is always clear, accurate, professional, and persuasive. Thank you again for the privilege to join you. It was a marvelous opportunity to engage with you. And as I said earlier, you're not just a bridge between society and government, you are peacemakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Very profoundly answering to our questions and insightful discussions this afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are. Thank you to our participants across the globe. Thank you for taking off time to join in. We are better than how we came. I have been greatly enriched with the knowledge and rich nuggets that have been shared this afternoon, morning, and evening, wherever we are. Engage and engage and engage is what stood out from all the presentations. Thank you, Advocate Stephen, for sparing your time. I can imagine how busy it is for you back in Botswana, but for being here to share with us your insights. and your rich experience. Thank you, Honorable Ayo, for the rich experience and presentation. Thank you for taking the time to prepare these presentations. They are really timely, and they're presentations that have enriched us, and they're going to enrich us more as ombudsmen in our different jurisdictions. As I end today, I have been your facilitator, Anne Tunomchamhire, from the Republic of Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. I'll end with a quote by Angela Mayo, which says, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." Let's go make the difference. Let's go make people feel better about the societies that they live in through our work as ombudsmen. Now I'm going to call Marion Andonis, to pass on a vote of thanks to all of you, presenters and our participants that have taken off time to listen in. Marion is an accounting finance operations manager at the Africa Ombudsman Research Center. She's responsible for the financial management and operations at the center. She is a certified fraud examiner and holds a Bachelor's of Laws degree from the University of Natal. And special thanks from me to my sister at the Public Protector in South Africa for the great leadership. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good evening. Firstly, we would like to apologize for the untimely termination of the session. We will investigate and hopefully address it and hope that it never happens again. On behalf of the African Ombudsman and Mediators Association and the African Ombudsman Research Center, it is my honor and privilege to extend heartfelt gratitude to all those who have contributed to the resounding success of this event. I noticed that there are so many questions we will have to send to the panelists to respond. There were more questions coming in even after you had responded to all your questions. So we will send them through to the panelists later on. Firstly, our sincere appreciation goes to Dr. Paul Swanepoel, representing the University of KwaZulu-Natal, for his warm welcome and insightful opening remarks. We are deeply grateful for the unwavering support and collaboration of UKZN in hosting this webinar. We extend our gratitude to Advocate Koleka Galeka, the Public Protector of South Africa and Chairperson of the AORC Board, for gracing us with her presence and sharing profound perspectives in her welcome address. Her dedication to promoting good governance, the rule of law, and human rights is truly commendable. A special word of thanks to Mrs. Anne Mugisha, Deputy Inspector General of the Government of the Deputy Inspector General of the Government at the Inspectorate General of Government IGG in Uganda, for her expert facilitation throughout the sessions. Her guidance ensured that our discussions flowed seamlessly and key insights were effectively communicated. We are immensely grateful to our esteemed speakers who generously shared their expertise and experiences with us. Advocate Stephen, the Ombudsman of Botswana, provided invaluable insights into aligning customer service with organizational goals, emphasizing the profound impact of customer service on operations. As reiterated in his presentation, a satisfied customer is the best business strategy. Honorable Ayo, I'm not going to take a chance with the pronunciation, but I think it's Abimbola, but I'll go with Ayo. The Ombudsman of Nigeria enlightened us on the core principles of excellent customer services, offering excellent customer service, offering practical implementation examples. His insightful comments, good customer service always helps increase patronage. Satisfied customers spread by word of mouth their good experiences they received. That resonated deeply with me. Professor Tulim Madonsela, Chair of Social Justice Research at the University of Stellenbosch and former Public Protector of South Africa, delivered a thought-provoking session on dealing with irate customers, emphasizing the paramount importance of understanding and managing customer complaints effectively. Her poignant remark that customer care has to ensure that everyone, the complainants, those answerable, as well as witnesses, is treated with kindness and fairness to left a lasting impression. As she says, the Ombudsman are the peacemakers, not just the bridge. We express our heartfelt gratitude to all the participants who joined us today, including Ombudsman officers, their staff, and other interested individuals. Your engagement and meaningful contributions have enriched the discussions and significantly contributed to the success of the webinar. Finally, we extend our appreciation to the technical and support teams behind the scene, particularly the UKZN Corporate Relations team, whose tireless efforts ensure the seamless execution of the webinar. In conclusion, I would like to once again thank everyone who has been a part of this enlightening experience. Your unwavering dedication and valuable insights have been instrumental, and we look forward to continued collaboration as we endeavor to enhance customer service skills and promote good governance across Africa and beyond. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day further. Thank you. Bye-bye.